Thank you very much. You're all very welcome to the show. I hope you enjoy it over the next hour or so. I wouldn't say it's the most relaxing show in the world to do. You know, I think I have a habit of choosing stressful stuff. Do you know? I used to never do my homework because I always thought that not doing your homework made the following day more interesting. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's start the show and we'll see what happens. Okay. And now, ladies and gentlemen, I'll hand you over to our MC for the evening, the wonderful Mr. Fred Cook.
Thank you, Tommy. Thank you. Well, our first guest is Hozier.
Well,
hello.
Tell us your story.
I'm a musician.
No, I know who you are. Like,
Okay.
I didn't think you were the captain of the Longford under-21s. Like tell us the story of what's happened to you over the past 3 years, is it?
3 years.
When did the Take Me to the Church thing hit?
Yeah, it was. I think it was 2013 when initially that was put up online. I think that song, and yeah, 2014 it started to kind of gain momentum. It was late 2013, and then I was kind of on the road until 2016 on the first album, and started this tour for this record officially kind of late last year. Just a few songs, and then March.
And do you have the energy for all the gigging and the travelling and the hotels and the...
You do. It comes and goes, and you kind of... I think that's one of the hardest parts of it. You are tired a lot of the time, and you sleep on in a moving vehicle a lot of the time. You know, you sleep on a bus, etc. But it's a lot of fun, you know, at the same time, and you're surrounded by very fun people who love what they do. So,
how old are you?
I am now 29 years old.
Yeah. And do you, like, when you're on the road, would you take a pint and stuff?
You would. No,
a pint of what's this year?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, you would now and then. I think the first time around, definitely there'd be. You know, you don't know the line till you've crossed it, I suppose. But you test your limitations, and also you're kind of more able for it a little bit the first time round. Yeah. Everything's new to you.
Coincidentally, this is a wild coincidence now. I was looking at the lyrics to Take Me to the Church this afternoon. Yeah. And I had never realised the edge to them.
Yeah.
I think in the song, because the song has such amazing momentum and chorus and build and release, you're kind of... when I hear it anyway, I'm kind of swept along by that, rather than... But I saw the lyrics on the printed page, and I thought, Jesus, now there's razors in there, like, you know. Sometimes I wonder, the people who are anger at the church or anger at religion is not too different to adoration. It's the other side of the same coin, isn't it? What was your...
It's an interesting way to put it. You know, I suppose it's expectation, and like just on what you're saying, there's expectation, and there's those expectations being violated because you're expecting so much, and this is especially when the subject is the concept of infinite love and infinite kindness and goodness, like, let's say.
But that's such a... I mean, that's a...
Well, that's a
No, I'm saying that's a beautiful... The fact that you can phrase it like that, you know, like someone might come on and say, well, there's no God, and that's it. But for you to use the phrase infinite kindness and infinite goodness is
it's a lot.
Interesting.
Yeah, and it's a lot to live up to, I suppose, and it's a lot for any organisation that claims to be the representation of that to live up to.
Oh yeah. Right.
So, but for me, it was more. It was never about a faith as such, or kind of trying to point the gun at faith, or point a finger at faith. But you know what it is. You know, the institutionalized Roman Catholic Church is a club of grown men, and what they say about God and what they and that the legacy of that and the responsibilities of that and how it has shaped our world and the experience of so many people. You know, there's a lot of frustration in that song and a lot of kind of razors, as you put it, but it is a love song. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Does writing about I think I heard some of the songs of the most recent album. Did they have a kind of a political edge to them, or am I misremembering that?
Some of them do. Yeah. It's a funny one. I don't know if I consider the second album as kind of a bit more light, a bit more. I thought a bit more. The voice, anyway. The voices in it are a bit more light, or a bit more kind of. Are just having a bit more fun. I don't really differentiate between a song that's political and a song that's not political, just because I think most things are political, or most things have a political dimension to them. All things have a political dimension to them. So if you're just writing a song about your experience of how things work, and one of my biggest influences would be folk music, let's say, or just the storytelling, like let's say just the kernel of storytelling. If it's a person given their experience, given this is what I do. Here's a story. Let's say I walked this land and I saw this and I experienced this or I felt this. There's politics has everything to do with that of who you are and where you are and what you experienced and what you faced. And so for me, all art has a political dimension. So, but yeah, a lot of the songs obviously were referencing the song. The album was called Wasteland Baby. It was named after a song called Wasteland Baby, which is this. Imagines the end of the world happening, so in all sorts of different ways.
Do you enjoy being in Ireland more than being in the States?
I do, yeah. I do. Home is home. So like, there's a lot of wonderful things about being in the States that, you know. And first of all, I haven't found an audience there. Found such amazing support there. Yeah. As it stands, you know. I've made a very conscious decision to live in Ireland and to continue to call Ireland home. You know.
Who's at home now? Like who?
Here in Ireland.
Yeah. Who's your family?
Family. My folks. My mum and dad, and my brother also is based here in Ireland.
What did your dad do for a living?
My dad's retired now. When I was a kid, he would have been a gigging musician. He was a live musician when I was, you know, a very young child. You know, primarily kind of rock music, blues music, so what a great record collections, you know. And
what was the band he was in?
He was in a few bands in Dublin. One of them was called Free Booze, I think, and then it's great for posters. Like, yeah, it's fantastic.
Free Booze, that's a great name.
yeah, totally. So it was a genius, because people would see that on a pub sign and just come straight in.
Yeah.
It's genius in it. So a lot of my earliest, you know, when I had a tape player growing up, would have been actually, to be fair, like a lot of the material that they were learning, like little mixtapes that they'd made for material for them to learn for different sets of different kinds, you know. And then his record collection. So yeah, great musical influence there.
And what did your mum do?
Artist. She was kind of would have been a stay-at-home mom. She kind of kept us all going, but she also very, very arty kind of person, would turn their hand to loads of stuff. Went back to study fine art a few years ago, which is great.
And how many brothers do you have?
Just the one.
And what does he do?
He produces film, fantastic director, producer, and writes as well too. So that's been invaluable actually with music video and video content.
Yeah.
To have somebody to bounce ideas off.
How relevant is the ability to be wise and clever in that social media world, as opposed to the genius of your music. It seems like, is it how do you cope with that, or how do you move through it?
It's a tricky one. I used to.
Like, would you do tweets about Trump when you're drunk?
I avoid it. I managed to avoid it. As well, I get very anxious going on the record over anything, because even interviews like this, I suppose. But there was a time where I would enjoy that a lot more.
And so, are you nervous about what you might say, and then that being interpreted by other people and it turning into some internet thing?
Possibly. There's that. There's the fear of social reprisals, or there's that. There's also just.
I don't think you've said anything yet, really.
I know I haven't made it. Give me time. Make an arse of myself at some point. I think it's more. The more you try to explain yourself, the more you'll end up being misunderstood. Anyway, there's an anxiety there, I suppose. I've kind of managed to avoid it. There was a time when I would have been more active for putting my voice out there. There is, for certain things that I would feel strongly about, if in the case of like the marriage referendum here or something like that, if you have a platform and you feel you can offer a signal boost to something in some way, shape or form, in a useful way, yeah. But unless there's something that I think is very useful, I try to be careful about what I say.
Isn't it funny, because we're sitting here just chatting to each other, and it's just two Irish lads having a yap.
Yeah.
But I would forget then that you say something and put it out there, and it could turn into this colossal thing. It's kind of
yeah, it's weird. I'd say it's the same. I was just chatting before coming on. Huge admiration for this show, because it is just a chat. Like it's a chat, and like you may not know me from Adam, and there's wonderful things that you find, that you talk to the guest and find out about them in the same time that the audience does. So there's no pretense of there's no pretense also of, aren't you great, aren't you wonderful, there's a reason, we all know there's a reason you're here. It's this wonderful exploration of who this person is, and you get, but then also as you say, it's a chat, it's a yap, could go anywhere. And I'd say it's comedians also, it's a tricky time. For the first time, everything's on the record for all time, nearly everything we say and do. So I don't know.
I think the difference with comedians is, though, that I get in our stage work, we give ourselves permission to be disruptors and to say the thing that shouldn't be said.
Yeah.
And that can get you into an awful amount of trouble. And But the funny thing about getting into trouble is nobody suffers as much, certainly with me, as I do when I get into trouble, because I'm so sensitive as a human being that I feel huge amounts of guilt and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's how you've no socks on.
I do. Oh, they're just very small. Sorry.
That's a real old lad thing to say. For God's sake, come on, he's no socks on. How would you be about singing a song now?
So, we were set to. I've just come in from New York. I would love to. I had a doctor called before the last couple of shows, because I was fighting away laryngitis. So I had a doctor come in to give us steroids.
Yeah. You could still sing something. Just don't bait it out. Just a soft, easygoing, in your normal talking voice. Like, I swear to God, we'll not go to the church this evening. Like, is there anything like just very gentle without pushing it? I understand totally what you're saying, but without pushing it, go on. You can try it. Just a verse or something.
I wouldn't know what to sing.
Suzanne takes you down to her place near the river. You can
hear the boats go by you. I'm not even warmed up.
Spend
the night beside her. And you know that she's half crazy,
but
that's why you wanna be there.
And she feeds you tea and oranges that come all the way from China.
And just when you mean to tell her that you have no love to give her, she gets you on her wavelength. She lets the river answer that you've always been her lover. That was nice. That was very, I've never done that before. I've never done that. Thank you. Wow. Excuse me.
And in fairness, you weren't lying. We could hear the croaking.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Honesty is good.
Yeah, no, there was, but what came out was soul and vulnerability. And thank you for sharing that.
It's a perfect song choice.
Nice and easy. Yeah. So, what's your schedule like over the next couple of months and stuff?
A schedule like I have a quiet time coming up, which is the first time in a long time. I've been out of a suitcase now for nearly 18 months. My next year is quite quiet, you know. So I'm gonna just decompress, write. I find it very hard to write on the road.
All right, yeah.
So just to have that quiet in that space and be able to work on the next thing.
Well, rest well, fella. Rest well, and thank you so much.
Thank you
for coming on to the show,
ladies
and gentlemen. Stay safe. That was lovely.